Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Roy Evans of the Jericho Broadcast Networks, and I am here with Mr. Darren Reed, who is the Senior Vice President of Stride Professional Development. Darren, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, Roy. Glad to be here.
All right, well, thanks. So let's start off by telling the folks a little bit about what Stride Professional Development is.
Yeah, absolutely. Stride is the nation's leading provider of online education in the K through 12 space. We were formerly known as K-12 Inc. and are over 2 decades in the space of providing free virtual online education across the nation to students, no matter where they are. We've since changed our name to Stride because we've expanded beyond the K-12 space, though that's still very much what we do as a priority. What we've also done with the Stride Professional Development Center is we've leveraged some of our expertise over the past 2+ decades of supporting schools and students and educators, teachers, principals, and we are trying to innovate, the way professional development happens for educators, and that we're doing that through the Stride Professional Development Center. Gone are the days where it's face-to-face only PD. It's episodic professional development. It's professional development that's not necessarily relevant to what teachers and educators need right away. So the Professional Development Center is designed to solve that challenge with some unique, innovative ways of delivering content.
All right, man. Well, listen, we are super excited here at the network to be engaged with you all and helping to provide this opportunity for teachers all across the country, and especially those teachers that are coming from our HBCU backgrounds, because we know that education was always one of the stalwarts of most HBCUs in this country. They all had teaching programs, and that's what a lot of them were founded for. So, Darren, let's talk a little bit about those special programs that you guys have for the teacher.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, Roy, you hit on the very important point. Right now in our country, we're facing probably one of the greatest challenges of our teaching corps that we have in many, many years. And that's around this teacher shortage. A lot of teachers are exiting the profession just based on tenure. They're retiring and moving on. And then you have, our existing teachers who are being taxed and stressed, particularly post-COVID with, increasing demands, challenges that they're facing in the classroom, and a host of other issues that they struggle with. And we need good teachers, and we need to support the teachers that we have. So the two things that we're doing is that we know first-year teachers, among all teachers, are among the first to leave the profession within the first 5 years. I think they do at a 44% rate, which is just scary to think that folks are, graduated, want to go in the classroom and make a difference, but feel like they need to leave within the first 5 years because it's so challenging. So we want to support them. Obviously, as a new teacher, your school that you work, where you work your first year, the district where you work, there will be some professional development support to assist you. But we want to go a step further. We want to help every teacher in the country get off to a strong start to their first year and have some stick-to-itiveness, to help them get through that first year. So we're offering a year free access to the Stride Professional Development Center. It's a ever-growing online database of courses that will help them in a variety of different ways. Classroom management, targeted instruction, and a host of other things. And the content will continuously grow. Again, it's just another resource that allows them to sharpen their practice, to feel like they're supported, because the research says that teachers are leaving in large part because they don't feel like they get enough professional support. So we really hope that helps new teachers. So again, this is for any new teacher who just graduated in the country. All you have to do is go to our site and sign on using the Teachers Win discount at checkout. Also, we have another campaign where during Teacher Appreciation Week, we gifted all teachers in the country, no matter where you are, 6 months free Professional Development Center access. But we're doing a special thing through our partnership with the BCSN and our HBCU graduates, and also the schools that you work with. We want any teacher in the country who through our partnership gets access to the Professional Development Center, and they get 6 months free using the BCSN 23 passcode at checkout. Again, our goal is to support and get as many teachers on the site feeling supported, to really help them succeed and have some success, not only for them, but obviously for our kids and the communities they serve. So
Most definitely. And Darren, listen, we are super excited again to be a part of this. My mother was a teacher. My aunt was a teacher. I have my best friend is a teacher. So we
Absolutely.
understand. I've worked in the school system for years. So I understand the resources that are needed. I understand why a lot of these teachers do take the time and they sit there, and after going through college, they're like, you know what, let's do something different.
Yeah.
So we're happy to be a part of this to help you guys change that. So ladies and gentlemen, here's all you guys need to do. All you need to do is take a look and go to the link that's right below us right now and see what you're going to do. You're going to see two links on the page now, just to make sure. The top one takes you to their professional development page, homepage, that'll let you know about some of the things that are happening there and the things that you have access to. Go to the second link that says teacher appreciation. That'll take you directly to the content page where you can sign up and get your free year if you're a new teacher, and your free 6 months if you're an existing teacher. Let's show them how we utilize resources, and we make sure that we take time, those folks who are HBCU alum, and use this. And let's see what Stride has to offer. We're excited about it. We know you will be too. Darren, is there anything else that you'd like to say to the folks?
No, I mean, just, as a teacher myself, and understanding the need, and of course with the diversity that's needed in our teaching corps across the country, I know our HBCU teacher graduates are just exactly what we need.
Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. Man, I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with the hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball, who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention.
Welcome. This is Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Charles is out on assignment. Joshua is trying to get home from sunny California. I'm not sure if it was so sunny for him. That was ugly. But we had a couple of ugly scores this weekend in terms of our major division FCS programs. Some bounce back games, first time wins, and we'll cover all that. Welcome to episode 433 Inside the HBCU Sports Lab Radio Show and Podcast Show. I should say episode 432, the show that's covering the sporting HBCU dash for all things HBCU sports for institutions large and small. From the NAIA to the NCAA, we share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture, HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs and the business of HBCU sports. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, along with my co-host, Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, and we're here with our Sunday crew, AD Drew. BJ Jones will be joining us. He's trying to navigate through the airport as well. We're filming from our home studios, really filming from most of these folks from the airport. Sending a signal live to KCOH 1230 AM studios with the Texas Radio Hall of Famer, Ralph Cooper, in the beautiful home of Texas Southern University. You know how to say. With that being said, Mike Washington, how you doing this morning?
Man, I am doing just fine, Doc. I am once again in the Atlanta airport. Stayed up late, watched quite a bit of football. Watched that Southern Alabama A&M game. Watched that Hampton Howard game yesterday. But man, you got to give Shadur's. You got to give him a heads up as well. And how he and his brother represented HBCUs. I'm ecstatic. I'm tired. I ain't gonna even lie. Late flight, late going to sleep, early getting up, as I told AD. But man, it was an incredible Sunday. Some great football. So I'm ready. I am not 100%, but I am ready to go for you, Dr. Cavil, because I love you and I love AD. And if I sound a little off, there's something in my coffee.
I was gonna ask you, you found a bar? Everybody with morning coffees. AD Drew, how you doing? It seems like you joined the team as well.
Yes, Doc. First of all, let me go back to that Colorado game. For us on the East Coast, we were up late watching the Colorado State game like you would watch a Floyd Mayweather or Mike Tyson fight back in the day. You know, you had to stay up to watch it. I know I did get that Mike says you like that. I got a report from the clubs on the East Coast, and the male attendance at the clubs were down this on yesterday. The females are a little bit upset because the men were not in the club because they were at home watching that Colorado State game. Just want to put that out there for everyone. But
that's what was going on.
That's what was going on. But I do love my HBCUs. Like the jingle said, because I'm ecstatic because despite struggling, both of my HBCUs struggled to get a W on yesterday.
At least FAMU did the first half. Second half, they kind of pulled it away. But yeah, Tuskegee, boy, they didn't know how to see if they were going to close it out. That was fascinating. They jumped out there, and every time, credit to Central State, they kept continuing to fall back. It'll be interesting to follow both those programs for the rest of the season. In fact, great lead-in. We'll talk about that in our top 7 in terms of what took place in the top 7 yesterday. Before we do that, let me say today's episode of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab is sponsored by THD Agency LLC. THD Agency is a company that provides sporting and educational consulting and data analytics. With that being said, let's get into that. In fact, let's go straight to the mid-majors first in regards to what happened. In our top 7, 2 of the top 7 programs took L's yesterday. So with that being said, let me get into just that in terms of what took place with those teams in the top 7. Kentucky State Thoroughbreds lost to the Allen Yellow Jackets 34-30. They fall to 1-1 on the season, 0-1 in the conference race. They were previously ranked 3. They're at 7, so they continue to fall. Number 6 is the Central State Marauders, lost to number 5, Tuskegee Golden Tigers, 27-21. That's the game A.D. Drew was referencing. So they fall to 1-1 overall and 0-1 in the conference race. They were not ranked last week. They jumped in because of the big victory in week 1, but now they might be falling back out. At number 5, Tuskegee Golden Tigers, as I said, won their matchup, so they improved to 2-0. 1-0 in the conference places. They keep running forward. They were not in the poll last week, but they jumped to number 5. Can they push up? Let's see what that means. At number 4, you had the Virginia State Trojans defeated St. Augustine Falcons 55-12. They got rolling deep, as you would say. 2-0 in the season, 1-0 in terms of what they continue to play as they just continue to get it done. Number 3, Bowie State Bulldogs defeated Shaw Bears 21-7. They keep moving forward as well. And then you have the Virginia Union Panthers defeating Livingston Blue Bears 28-20. They improve on the season as they hold their undefeated mark, as well as the Benedict Tigers defeating Lane 54-7. All those teams improved to 3-0 on the season, I should say, as they just continue to roll. Benedict Tigers look good over Lane Dragons 54-7. Nudging out Virginia Union. It'll be interesting to see what that looks like in the top 7 in terms of those marks. Virginia Union is winning, playing much closer games. But at this point, the Benedict Tigers are really dominating these games, much like Virginia State in terms of what they are doing in their last matchup. So be interesting to see what the poll rankings say and everybody looks at in week number 3. With that being said, let's get into the major division. Before we do that, Mike, any thoughts in terms of Division II rankings and some of those contests? What stood out to you yesterday, either in terms of the top 7 or did somebody surprise you outside of the top 7 that had your attention on Saturday?
No, I typically look at Bowie State. They are winning games that they should. If you look at Virginia State, to be honest, Virginia State, I don't know if they've been tested. And Virginia Union, as you say, they're winning games close. So Virginia State, they've had Norfolk State. That was probably their closest game. Tusculum and St. Augustine. Not really tough competition. So if you look at strength of competition, I can't wait till the middle of the season when Bowie State has Virginia State at home, and then they got to go on the road and take Virginia Union. To me, it's a 3-horse race so far, and AD Drew can probably speak more to this, but I got to give kudos. Bowie State is looking like a stronger team, at least in the week 3, year our Lord 2023. So that stood out to me.
I agree with you. People, I would suggest that you got to look at it as a week-to-week analysis. Things go up and down towards the end. Right after midterms, if you would, that's when you get a very better indication of what a team might be. Doesn't mean they can't take a setback or have a team that does a major upset. But with that being said, you pretty much have a better framework of what teams look like. With that being said, let me go to you, AD Drew. What were your thoughts on the mid-major games this week? What stood out to you? Was it something in the top 7, or was it a game outside of the top 7?
I'm going to stay in the CIAA. As much trash as we talked about the CIAA South last week, the games in the crossover basically went chalk. The 3 teams that you expected to win in the North won: State, Union, and Bowie State. And the 3 teams in the South that you would expect to win won: Johnson C. Smith, Fayetteville State, and Winston-Salem, meaning the 2 conferences were 500 against each other. Now, Fayetteville State had to hold on to get that victory against Lincoln of PA. Lincoln of PA should have picked up that dub, but maybe that championship pedigree that Fayetteville State has had with all the conference championship game appearances and finally breaking through the glass ceiling with the title last year may have held serve in that particular game. So, I love when we get into conference play, because that's when we really get to see which teams are good, which teams are bad, and to separate teams, because the non-conference is good. It's exciting to see how we compete against HWCUs, but let's be real. There will be 1, maybe 2 HBCUs that will see an HWCU this season. That'll come playoff time. For the rest of those HBCUs, this is what we play for. We play for these conference championships. We play for these rivalries. We play for state bragging rights, regional bragging rights, and most of all, we play for recruiting advantage.
Good stuff.
Okay,
Good stuff
AD,
there. And
Yada, Dr. Cavil, I have one question. Do we put credit with Fayetteville or any of those teams, I guess, from the South and the CIAA? You are more of a genius from when it talks to CIAA. Okay, expert. How about
that? Drew really focuses on mid-major, but it's more the SIAC.
Mid-major.
Steve Gaither does the CIAA, but
CIAA.
I do understand that your framework there when you talk about the CIAA. A lot of this, when we go week to week on the polls, happens to be about what people do in regards to what they've done over the years, and so the South has struggled. So we're looking to see, are they turning the curve? A lot of what Drew is speaking to. But let me get in this major division before we take our first break. It was a tough weekend for the majors. AD Drew, as he came on prepping for the show, talked about that. In the top 7, 5 of the top 7 lost. For those that are doing top 10s, for most folks, you could argue 7 of the top 10 lost in terms of their matchups this past weekend. Drew also talked about conference play coming along. We did have one conference game in the SWAC. We'll get into that matchup later on in the show. You also had a couple of non-conference conference games between Tennessee State and the Big South. OVC partnership they have, Garner-Webb, Tennessee State, as well as North Carolina A&T with their new rival. A lot of folks are talking about in that area, Elon, in terms of what that looks like. Yeah,
somebody in my throat, Doc, on that one. Hold on.
Exactly. At number 7.
Did he say
conference? Did he say Alabama?
Did he say conference rival?
The Southern Jaguar. Yeah, I see it. It's off the record joke for those at HBCU Nightly. Last year, just for those that don't know, since Mike, you asked it, I think it's perfect to put it out there now. Elon put out there that A&T, they had a rival coming in, North Carolina A&T, in a matchup. So North Carolina Central has been pushing them, talking about their new rival in the Coastal Athletic Association, formerly known as the Colonial. So that's where all that comes from.
So besides the fact that they're in North Carolina, what is the rivalry between the two schools? I'm sorry. Exactly. Go ahead with your poll, Doc. I'm sorry.
I'm with you too. What is the dang rivalry?
Outside the fact that they both in the state of North Carolina.
That's what the Elon people say.
And they in the CAA.
North Carolina A&T. I didn't make it up.
No other correlation between those except for those two things.
Exactly.
Elon people drinking this coffee right here.
At number 7, Alabama A&M Bulldogs lost to the Southern Jaguars 20-10. They fall to 1-2, 0-1 in the conference race, 157. I know Coach Maynard came in and said he was ready. I'm not sure if the rest of the team was as ready as he was. At number 6, Howard Bison lost to the Hampton Pirates 35-34. Howard was up by 17. A late rally by the Pirates continues the winning streak. This is one that a lot of Howard folks came in with anticipation they would win. Hampton fans were cautious, but not to be availed. And it started the trickle-down effect as last week the MEAC was 3-0 against the Coastal, formerly known as the Colonial Athletic Association. By the end of Saturday night, they were 3-3. Let you know how things have changed course. 1-2 fall the Bison on the season. They were not ranked as they jumped in the top 7. You would imagine they might fall out this week, but so many teams are falling, you never know. So check us out on Tuesday. With that being said, Tennessee State Tigers defeated the Garner Bulldogs 27-25. A field goal to win the game after Garner Webb had scored a touchdown to take the lead as the game went back and forth. Tennessee State Tigers improved to 2-1 and 1-0 in the conference races. They were not ranked last week. They jump in. Are they on their way up? At number 4, Jackson State Tigers lost to Texas State Bobcats FBS program 77-34. They put up 34 points, but they gave up 77. They fall to 2-2 on the season, still 0-1 in the conference race. At number 3, the Morgan State Bears lost to their rival, if you want to call it that, Christown rival. Townsend Tigers 20-10 of the Colonial, 1-2 overall in the season. I wonder if they have not bounced back from the Akron in terms of what that looks like. At number 2, Florida A&M Rattlers defeated West Florida Argos 31-10. Was 3-3 at the half, but you see that the Rattlers were able to score 31 and hold Argos to 10 points, 2-1 in terms of their mark, 1-0 on the season. And finally, at number 1, North Carolina Central Eagles, lost to UCLA Bruins 59-7. They fall to 2-1. It'll be interesting. Do they hold on to number 1 spot, or is there a change from the voters next week? With that, we'll take our first break, come back on the other side, and talk about some of these matchups. We'll be right back after this break. We'll bring back with us BJ Jones as well.
When it comes to professional learning, teachers deserve better. From the leader in online learning, Stride brings you the Stride Professional Development Center, an on-demand library of mobile-friendly courses that gives teachers choice and flexibility, allowing them to learn anytime and anywhere. Our dynamic courses provide bite-sized learning and help educators advance their knowledge while also gaining professional development hours. It's time you take charge of your learning. Visit us today to get started.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties through its programs Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and parenting education coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentJAX.
You're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
Charmin Ultra Soft has so much cushiony softness, it's hard for your family to remember they can use less.
Sweet pillows of softness.
This is soft.
Holy Charmin. Oh, excuse me. Roll it back, everybody. Sorry.
Charmin Ultra Soft is so cushiony soft, you'll want more, but it's so absorbent, you can use less, so it's always worth it.
Now, what did we learn about using less?
You gotta roll it back, everybody.
We all go, why not enjoy the go with Charmin?
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna law, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Ville's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. As I said, Charles Bishop is out on assignment. BJ Jones has joined us for the segment as we get into some of our matchups that we called Game of the Week last week, as well as AD Drew. So let's just jump right into it. But let me be a gentleman. BJ Jones, how you doing this morning?
Been doing pretty good, Doc, man. It's been an early morning, man. Just getting back home. So, hey, all is well. All is well.
With that being said, let's get into it. East Rutherford, New Jersey, MetLife Stadium, HBCU NYC football game classic. We have SIEC contest that has went all the way up to the East Coast. Overall rankings, these teams were well outside, if you would, in terms of the top 7. If you got into my overall rankings, I like to do Albany State Golden Rams come in like 16th in terms of the strength of what I have them thus far this season, while Morehouse comes in at a 25 spot. So tough sledding for these two teams. Somebody was going to get a victory. Albany State Golden Rams improved to 1-2 after they defeat Morehouse, who falls to 0-3. With that being said, Drew, what are your thoughts that took place in this game for this matchup between the Golden Rams and the Maroon Tigers?
Look, Maroon Tigers, when your opponent turns the ball over 2 times to your 1, you know, you're supposed to be in the game a lot better than you were. But Albany State came out in this game, jumped up early, 17-0, before Morehouse made a comeback. Scored late in the half, and then wait until the fourth quarter, get their second touchdown before Albany State was finally able to seal the deal. Here's the thing, Doc. The only reason that I am really talking about this game on your show is A, it was played in the New York metro area. B, you put it on the script and told me I had to talk about the game. And C, I don't have a C as to why I am really talking about this game. But for both these teams, somebody had to win this game. Somebody was going to lose it. For the team that lost this game, Morehouse, it's tough looking down the Morehouse schedule and seeing where a W is going to come for the Maroon Tigers this year, which is a sad testament to a proud program. Yes, as a Tuskegee Golden Tiger, we love whooping up on y'all. But we love whooping up on y'all when we good. I mean, I know we win about 80% of the games when we play each other, but we still want some competition. Right now, Morehouse is not at the level that they need to be. But Albany State also has its struggle as they try to come up with a brand new offensive identity under both these teams try to come up with an identity under first-year head coaches.
That's the biggest thing when you look at this matchup is the fact that they're led by 2 new coaches. Albany State, they got it done 24-14. So to your point, it'll be interesting to see where they go from this. Morehouse, I do think, is going to struggle to get a victory, but they might find a way to get it done out of Atlanta. When you talk about those Atlanta HBCUs, it's going to be a struggle in a lot of ways for both of them, include obviously with Clark Atlanta being the other. They're struggling, playing much better football, but they can't quite get the W. I think they have a better chance when it comes to W, so I even look for them to take it to the Maroon Tigers later in the season. With that being said, let's jump over to our independent matchup of the week. It was West Virginia State that was just outside of that top 7, receiving votes. They're playing some really good football to their credit. They're in conference play. They get it done, beating Concord as they come from behind. They win 47-27 to pull it out. Really looking good there. They continue to move on the season, improving their record to 2-1, 2-0 in the conference play as Concord Mountain Lions fall to 0-3. This is a game that I thought would go this way in terms of what's going on. But your general thoughts on this, BJ Jones, in terms of what you saw, what you read in terms of how the Yellow Jackets of West Virginia State is playing thus far this season?
Man, I saw them play their first game against Morehead State. And one of the things that jumped out about me about West Virginia State is the amount of athletes that they have on the outside, particularly in the receiving corps. They got athletes. The receivers, the secondary, they're solid there. They didn't look overwhelmed that first game I watched them against Morehead State in the trenches, which is usually the case when you have a D2 going against an FCS. This program, they fight. Look at that West Virginia State roster. It is a roster that's primarily right now consumed of juniors and sophomores. So I think that this year will be a building year for them, and next year could possibly be here come the Yellow Jackets type of year for West Virginia State.
Good stuff. Interesting. Always intrigued about West Virginia State as they tend to have a pretty solid program. They float around at least being top 10, top 7, and every 3-4 years they'll make a run at the top 5 program in terms of what it looks like. Is that the same assessment you have, Drew, in terms of West Virginia State overall in terms of their football program?
Yeah, the only thing with West Virginia State, that about the East Conference is probably one of the toughest conferences in Division II football. So West Virginia finding its own identity within its conference itself, considering that they play 10 conference games. I mean, it is a tough road for them to get back to supremacy. And I'm like BJ. Yeah, they're going to be above average. You know, they've never been mediocre as long as I've been following them. They're going to be above average. They're probably the lower level of that first tier, but can they sustain those athletes and their program to get to the upper level of those first teams where they're competing for a conference title every year? Because I think it's been about 3 or 4 years since they've been there fighting for that 1-2 spot. You may remember better than I do, BJ.
2019, I think.
That sounds about right. Somewhere around there when they had a legitimate chance at winning that conference.
The other game we had was Welcome to the Conference Party. CIAA, when it started for conference race, they had to travel to Charlotte, North Carolina, Irwin Belk Complex. They lose to Johnson C. Smith Bulls that improving to 2-1, 1-0 in terms of the conference race. Bluefield State, the Big Blue, they came in there, fall to 1-2, 0-1 in that conference. It's interesting when you look at that matchup. The Golden Bulls got it done, 30-13. A lot of folks were looking at Bluefield to see what they could get done in that matchup. Fascinating in terms of that. We won't take a deep dive in that one because I want to tease out our SIAC mid-major matchup of the week, which is Pine Bluff, Arkansas, Simmons Bank Field. It was the mid-major top 5 programs, Miles Golden Bears, who actually fall to 2-1 on the season. Arkansas Pine Bluff, 18th overall of what I got the top 21 programs where I have them ranked. They improve. They get their first win of the season, 1-2. they get it done. It was a nip and tuck close one. We'll talk about your thoughts on that matchup on the other side. We'll save it and make it a mid-major game. It kind of snuck it in there. When a lot of folks came in and said Miles could get back-to-back wins. They were like this close, really this close in terms of what took place. They'll rule the day that they didn't even go for the field goal and went for that fourth down. I'm not sure what was the cause of that, but I want to get these guys' thoughts on that on the other side. We'll take a second break. We'll be back, come into the major division talk. We'll slide this one in that as well and see what your thoughts in terms of what took place on the major division, where some folks got off the ledge. Shout out to BJ Jones. We will give him a cigar as we do weekly. Shout out to AD Drew. He gets 2 of them. He's being a little greedy. Mike, we put yours up and saved it for another week to see if you can get that.
I appreciate it. And I wouldn't say
Put it in the humidor.
I wouldn't say that BJ Jones got off the lid. They just took one step back. If you saw that game.
With that, we'll be right back after this second break.
At CDW, we get speed as the new currency of success.
Our team spends way too much time tending to outdated applications and software when they should be focused on driving application agility and innovation.
CDW Amplify Development Services modernizes software and application development to help accelerate innovation and digital transformation.
So you mean building new applications, UI, and mobile interfaces?
Well, you said you needed to innovate more quickly.
Oh, so he's a listener.
To do more at scale, trust CDW Amplify Development Services.
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him?
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
That's a pretty tight spot.
Watch this.
Of course your Buick parks itself. That's so you.
It's just up here on the right.
Of course you know where we're going. That's so you.
Kinda got a 6th sense.
And a head-up display.
They're here.
Hey, it's a field. Warm up. You brought all these players in your Buick?
Yeah,
So you.
it is.
There's a Buick that fits your life because at the heart of every Buick SUV is you.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna loud, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach you.
This is Dr. Cavil inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Let's get into this matchup. Pine Bluff, Arkansas, Simmons Bank Field. I hate they didn't call BCSN to broadcast this game because it was one of the best games of the week. Obviously, if you had the pay-per-view, Golden Lions puts theirs behind a paywall, so you had a chance to get that game. I was watching it in terms of the scoring line, watching it on the pay-per-view, because the other games, other than the Southern and Alabama A&M game that was least competitive, but the way it was played was a tough one to kind of watch in a lot of ways. But this game really had everything. Pine Bluff jumps out 14-0. First quarter, looking really good. You'd be like, oh, man, maybe not. Miles, Pine Bluff is better than what we think. Miles is just not quite ready to take next step. That attrition that I tell you, that mid-majors, you play one game, maybe 2 games, you can get it done. But playing a season against FCS and the number of bodies is what I try to tell people. I don't think they understand. When you talk about the difference in divisions, yeah, you can get up for a game or 2. You can get up for a half, a quarter. But to do it past 2 games, 3, 4 games, with the attrition that takes place, it is challenging to see Division II programs. And that's why I separate the matchups in terms of the mid-major and the major division in terms of what that looks like. But the Miles Golden Bears do what they do. They storm back. And late in the game, it looks like SWAC fans were going to be dropping their head just for a terrible weekend. It's 3-3 when you're looking at down there watching the FAMU game, because I got one on the tube in regards to that matchup. I have an iPad going in terms of Tennessee State's game, looking at that, and it's going back and forth. You're comfortable, and then you're not comfortable with that game. You're seeing UCLA do their thing, and you just dropping your head. You're seeing Texas Southern Rice, and you dropping your head. You're seeing Prairie View SMU, you're dropping your head. You're seeing Morgan State, Townsend, they just take it to them early. You're dropping your head, and you're like, what the hell is going on this week? And then you turn in this one and say, well, at least this was entertaining, so we're going to go with it. BJ Jones, let me shut up, take it to the Masters. Let me let y'all get in here and get y'all talk on. BJ Jones, what do you think about this Pine Bluff Miles Golden Bears? What were your thoughts?
Coulda, woulda, shoulda. Doc, I don't understand the call, and I know that head coach Sam Shade, I know there's some reasoning behind it. Maybe he saw something. I know that Miles has had some issues with kicks being blocked this early part of the season. Maybe that was it. I'm kicking it. I'm kicking it. I mean, that's just me. And maybe he wanted to show his team that, hey, I believe you guys, we're going to be aggressive and we're going to go get it.
Yeah.
Man, Miles, the turnaround that we've seen from Miles College, I don't think it's a big enough story in Black college football. We're talking about a ball club that went 1-9 last year. Reggie Ruffin had that program rolling. He leaves, goes to Tuskegee, takes a lot of coaches with him, takes a lot of players with him. Miles is literally in rebuild mode. They bring in Sam Shade from Pennsylvania Valley High School, the Birmingham metro area. He has a terrible year. They ready to run him out of Miles.
Mm-hmm.
Year one, they ready to run him out. You know, you got to think, Miles got a chance to taste steak up on the Reggie Ruffin. We can't go back to Hamburger Hill. And this year, the Golden Bears beating Lane the way they did it, going to Montgomery and beating Alabama State. They felt like that this was an opportunity, and they let this one escape them. But if you're in the SIAC, the Golden Bears in Fairfield, Alabama, they're a problem. They're a problem, and they're going to have a lot to say about who plays in that championship game over in the SIAC.
Without a doubt. I mean, you look at the data points. Seriously, Miles lost this game. I don't think UAPB won this game. If you looked at that game, which I did, I mean, seriously, UAPB went 1 for a million on third down conversion. They couldn't pass
1
the
to
ball
14
over.
to be exact.
Yeah, I'm sorry, 1 for a million. So in football terms, and really, I mean, you look at Miles had every category, with the exception they had 2 turnovers. Miles had possession of the ball altogether. Kick the ball, field goal, kick the ball, think soundly. They have a really tough, tenacious defensive team, and they play UAPB. To me, I know you Golden Line, I know my uncle, Big Earl, UAPB fan. He calling me, you see them with them? No, Big Earl. UAPB didn't win this game. Miles lost this game for real. It was on coaching, it was on fundamentals, but Miles, beware of Miles this season. That defense alone is tough.
Now, let me see if I can turn this around a little bit, man. Give the Lions some credit, man. 4th and 2. Their back is against the wall. Miles is roaring back against the Lions in their home, and they only give up a yard as Miles turns it down. They get 1 yard. There's 3:44 left in the game. They are making moves and making plays, and they literally get down to the 5-yard line. 5-yard line. And Pine Bluff defense stands them up at a crucial time in the game and get it done. Obviously, later they try to get a field goal and it's blocked and run back where they run out the clock. But 80 Drew, What were your thoughts in terms of what took place on that crucial play in this game?
Look, let's give Miles credit. I know bowl victories are not what are truly reflective, especially when it comes to the standings. But that defense of Miles, the running game of Miles, is going to be hell on the rest of the SIAC.
Preach.
The way Miles is never out of a game, and they don't abandon the running game, even when they're down multiple scores. Most teams, when you get down 2 scores, all right, it's time to stop running the ball. Let's chuck the ball down the field. No, Miles is still going with the 3 yards and a cloud of dust. They are still trying to run the ball. Almost that old school Oklahoma-esque type thing. We are going to do what we're going to do. This is our identity. Now, let's get on the decision. Everybody remember last year when Lane went for 2, when everybody thought they should have gone for 1. Sam Shade gets this first down and ultimately gets his touchdown. He's coach of the doggone year. So don't get mad at a coach for going with his gut feeling in this situation. Miles had all the momentum in the world. You could justify the call as far as going with it. Unfortunately, it did not go the Golden Bears' way this particular time. But hell, how many games did Michael Jordan take the last shot and miss? You gonna lose some games like this. The thing is, he had the balls to make the call. Let's give this man some credit going into the remainder of conference play. The fact that he did not care. He showed confidence in his team. He showed confidence in his offensive line. Hey, that defensive line, and on that one singular play, whooped us on that one play. But overall, we whooped the crap out of them. I got a stat sheet to prove it.
Look at this. I'll say this. This is a Sunday inside the HBCU Sports Lab. It's our job to review and second guess everything. With that being said, Miles had 403 total yards, Golden Lions 327. Miles passed for 262. Pine Bluff for only 118, but they rushed the Golden Lions rushed for 209 as Miles rushed for 141. Let's get into another matchup in terms of the MEAC side of this, where Howard comes in just knowing they're going to win this game. I'm not sure if there was a pundit out there that really gave Hampton a chance other than their fans. And even some of the others was like, man, the streak is coming over. Coming in, it reminds me in a lot of ways what a lot of folks were saying about Prairie, Texas Southern. It's just something when the team gets that attitude, that streak, just believe. They literally were down 34-17. Man, it was hard to listen to Jake. He was professional as you can be, as a guy that follows and loves the school, that just saw them really doing well. And he saw momentum, and he tried. Tiffany was trying to hold him up. Man, he went dead silent at the end of that game.
Yes, he did.
He didn't necessarily have to say anything because she was doing the color. But if you know how they go at each other, usually give some filler in it. For me, I love hearing them. But it was hard to listen because you could feel the passion and the concern about how they lost the game. It's one thing where another team just beats up on you and be like, hey, we're not ready. We need to get back to work. We're trying to get there. But to do that, and a lot of that was simply, they left a lot of points on the board. We say this all the time. Early in that matchup, when you get a chance and people talk about momentum and stuff like that, you can see it. And Jay, to his credit, he said earlier that they had some creases. They were making some tackles, shoestring, but you saw holes in that gap. And that run, after they kicked the field goal, where they left points on the board and couldn't get in the end zone, and Hampton makes the long run, you could see it coming. They were literally down by 17. They come back, roaring back, and win 35-34 in terms of that matchup. In terms of the ledger, let me give it to you in terms of what it looks like in terms of those key stats. Overall, you had Hampton with 369, Howard at 39 in terms of total yards in terms of that matchup, and it was intriguing about that. Let me go to you, Drew. What were your thoughts in terms of the Hampton Powers Howard matchup?
Like I said, I've only seen the highlights of that particular game as I was at another game on yesterday. But from
let me
what I have been,
let me ask you from this perspective.
Yeah.
Have you been part of as a fan of your team? Have you either Tuskegee or FAMU where they were up big and you saw your team come back? I guess it's unfair because you have been part of the Florida Classic. That has been an issue before y'all won the last couple of games.
Better yet, Dr. Cavil, I've lived it as a coach.
Oh.
On a game where I was up 20, I want to say we were up 21 at the half in the tournament and lost the game by 22. Do the math on that, y'all. Up 21 at the half and lose the game by 22. Do the math. Yeah, BJ. Yeah, that don't math too good when you lose a game like that in the second half. And that's kind of what you saw here in the fourth quarter. Although it was a hell of a lot closer score, but what this game reminds me of is Hampton. Remember and woke up in the fourth quarter that they are the HBCU bullies. That was their block. They bully everybody who comes on the block. Yeah, they got their butt whooped that one time last week when somebody was able to sneak one in and sucker punch the bully of the block. And then in the next fight, they went, somebody hit them with a quick 2-piece of the biscuit. But later on, after they got they cognizant skills back, they came and hit them with the whole bucket of chicken, and that's what happened in the fourth quarter of that game. That's what it looks like to me, Dr. Cavil.
I agree with you. That's exactly a great description in terms of how you define it. BJ Jones, where were you on this?
Guys, y'all remember the 08 Grambling Prairie View game where it felt like Prairie View, that was the year Prairie Views would get over the hump.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Prairie View was up, and that boy muffed that punt, and Grambling recovered. And momentum, even though Grambling was down by 14, I think Grambling was down by 14 or more, even though they were still down, it's like everything just immediately.
Yeah, you felt it. I was there.
And Prairie View people, it just looked like, man, here we go again. That's what happened to Howard. Literally, when Howard kicked that field goal, Blue put in the chat, that's going to come back to haunt y'all. And on the kickoff, like that kickoff swung all momentum. And even though Howard was still up, it just looked like they were just pressing, and Hampton was just comfortable, and you saw it happen. You saw it slow to happen, and it was just like, wow, here we go again.
Yeah. Mike, what are your thoughts in terms of that? I know you've been part of several of these Texas Southern Prairie View Labor Day matchups where you say, all right, finally get a trophy over. They get to take it home, 3,100 Cleburne. Then all of a sudden you be like, not so fast, my friends.
No, man, I agree. I saw this game. It looked like Howard was going to pull off a win. But even when Howard was ahead, you didn't feel like they were ahead. You felt like Hampton was going to just come back. Howard left points on the board. They were up 31-21 in the third quarter, and they left points on the board. So I think there's also something to be said about what Howard was able to do running the ball with that defensive line of Hampton. It really showed itself in the fourth quarter. But really, man, Hampton hit him with a three-piece, with a Frenchie's three-piece and a pepper in the fourth quarter. And if you're from Houston, Texas, and on Scott Street, 3rd Ward, you know what a three-piece and a pepper is. Man, they got hit with a three-piece and a pepper, and Howard couldn't do nothing in the fourth quarter. And you just felt like this was the one that Howard was supposed to win, but Hampton woke up. They got hit with that knockout smelly sauce, that ammonia, and that three-piece or whatever. It just woke them up. But I don't know any other way. Howard left points on the board in the first half, for real. And I don't know any other way to explain it. I don't know if it's coaching. I don't know if it was play, execution, but they left a lot of points on the board. And so that's kind of where the chips fall for me.
Can I ask a question to all the Howard folk, Dr. Cavil?
Hold on, I want to say this before you ask that question. Mike, I know about that pepper, but after the Labor Day Classic, as I was leaving the stadium, Prairie got a 4-piece. It was actually 4-piece in a pepper.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Drew,
and that's what
were you going to say?
For all my Howard Bison out there, if not now, when?
Oh, that's wrong. Why you got to put salt on it? Why you got to put salt on it? Let's go to the break. We're coming back on the other side for every part of Howard folks. Man, they in their feelings. It's hard. It's hard. I'm telling you. Jay, at the end was a good sport. When the coach got up there, somebody from Howard pulled the plug so they couldn't hear the coach. He did say, "Congratulations, coach. Congratulations." That was his last word.
Hey, I will say that Jay, the first half was pubbing Howard to death. Howard this. Howard this. Whatever school can you go to? All of a sudden in the fourth quarter, silence. Silence. Tiffany was holding the mic down. I'm serious. She did. It went from 50-50 commentating in the first half to about like 80-20 in the fourth quarter.
Jay, I didn't say that. Blame that old Mike. We'll be right back after this last break. We'll discuss our final 2 games in this last segment. Stick with us. We'll be right back after this break.
If you think all pads are exactly the same, think again. This is Always Ultra Thins reinvented with the Always Triple Protection System. This pad wicks gushes 90% faster, absorbs even more so you can feel dry, and locks odors in. Rethink your pad for up to 100% leak-free and odor-free comfort with the totally reinvented Always Ultra Thins. This is always like never before.
Are you hungry for authentic Caribbean food like jerk chicken, oxtail, red snapper, shrimp, tofu, and rasta pasta? Well, find your way over to Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta.
Them belly full, but we hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, open daily from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. And on Friday and Saturday, we're open till 4 a.m. Come to Mango's and put some spice in your life.
So we've got a good thing going.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta. For more info or directions, call 404-698-3992 or log on to mangoscaribbeanrestaurant.com. For instant coupons, text MANGOS to 313131.
Tell your mama hungry, papa hungry, brother hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, authentic Caribbean cuisines.
Open up the door, tell your mama hungry.
This is Ryan Fulford. AD Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Wrap. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Wrap, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
Compress the analytic data with your hip-hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna loud, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Bill with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with AD Drew, BJ Jones, and Mike Washington. Let's get into this independent game of the week. It was a conference game between the new framework of the Big South OVC. Tennessee State playing some good football. They get into a matchup. Garner-Webb scores. Tennessee State answers. You're like, okay. Garner-Webb scores again, goes up. Tennessee State answers. It's 14-14. You get Tennessee State scores with 1:39 left in the half. But the Bulldogs, or running Bulldogs as they like to be called, Garner-Webb puts up a field goal. So you're like, all right, it's a nice matchup. Tennessee State, haymaker, they come out the half, score 21-17 as they get going. They give up a safety, though, that's pretty crucial. So it's 21-19. They get a big field goal in terms of 49-yard field goal. So you're like, man, special teams, nice for Tennessee State. You're up 24-21. They do that with 6:32 get a couple of turnovers. They're looking good, but Garner Webb pushes forward. They're able to score. They go up 25-24 with 4:50 left. The game goes back and forth. You're like, man, it looks like Tennessee State Tigers let one get away. Not quite ready. Eddie George is going to, continue to hear it. Can he get it done? They play it. They drive down the field. This time they do it 1 yard better. They get a 50-yard field goal with 1:37 left. They hold the running Bulldogs, and they win 27-25. Magical game. A lot going on in that matchup. Ellis went 16-28, 154 yards, a touchdown. Did have an interception, but they were tough in terms of what they were able to do in that matchup. Let me go to you, Mike. What were your thoughts in terms of this Tennessee State Garner Webb matchup?
You're on mute.
You're on mute.
Yeah, sorry about that. But congrats to Tennessee State. They're in first place of the OVC in the year our Lord, Game 3, 2023. I don't know how long it'll last, but they are in first place. If you look at this game, you got to give it to Tennessee State defense. They held when they needed to hold. They allow 4.4, 4.5 yards per pass. And that's big time. And then per rush, they did allow 5 yards. But if you look at the game, it was two anatomies. You look at the second half, Tennessee State only held them to like 3 to 3.5 yards per rush, and they held when they needed to hold. They had 2 penalties. They had 11, 12 penalties for nearly 80 yards, 75, 80 yards. That by all intents and purposes, Tennessee State should have lost this game, but they held when they needed to hold to pull this game off. I think they won the second half 13-8. So kudos to Eddie George on that defensive effort. I gotta give them credit. I'm hard on Tennessee State, but their defense stepped up when they needed to step up today. Yes, Ellis played a great game. Bryant rushed for 7 carries for 50 yards. They had a couple of others, but their defense stepped up when they needed to step up. To me, that was key in this game.
Yeah, going you, 80, Drew. Passing, you had running Bulldogs 219, while Tennessee State had 221. Rushing, the Bulldogs 187 to 120. With total yards, 406 to 341. In general, what were your thoughts? Big win by the Tigers to help Mike out there. He talking about Big South. This OVC, this Big South OVC now. I want the Big South folks to be mad at you. They done lost.
My bad.
Whatever they calling it.
For whatever they calling it. Whatever they calling it now.
Exactly. My point. Go to AD, Drew.
One thing I've been trying to get people to understand this year is not so much about the rushing yards, it's the rushing attempts in these particular games, and the attempts is what allows you to control the clock. Although
34 to 35, to your point. Goodness.
Exactly, that's what allows you to control the clock, which Tennessee State was able to control the clock 31-08 compared to 28-52. And once again, with this new first down rule where the clock does not stop on first down, those rushing attempts are equating over to time of possession, which is equating over to some teams getting victories this year that have not gotten victories in the past. But I've got to ask this question to your opposers before I turn it over to PJ Jones.
We gotta stay on time. Because we still got matchups. So
okay.
Keep rolling.
Yeah, and like I said, this is gonna be real quick. We've only got 3 teams in our major division that are above 500. All 3 of them are 2-1. All 3 of them have lost to an FCS team. But 2 of those 3 teams have a victory against a Division II team. Who's going to be your new number 1, Dr. Cavil, when you start looking at all these data points and different things that go into it next week?
Now,
just throwing that out there.
I like that question. Everybody needs to tune in Tuesday because I want to know. Seems like DJ Jones says the Rattlers. Hey, Drew might be lining up for that too. Go ahead, Drew.
But Tennessee State has a valid argument right now.
That's why I said the Pine Bluff win to me was a little more significant when you talk about the quality of that win, Miles Golden Bears, and that they were right there with Tennessee State, that is moving to Tennessee State, especially when you start looking at the HBCU programs at the major division that are in the middle. I don't think there's a lot of separation. I think there's essentially 3 teams in the major teams that have pretty much separated themselves from everybody else. And then you have a glutton that we don't quite know. As we get into conference play, we'll need a little more. We have about 10 programs, and then we have about 3 or 4 that we know that are just out of the league, that are not ready for this. But the rest of them are right there in the pack. And week to week, you may never know. Great point, Drew. I'm glad you got that in there. B.J. Jones, with that said, what are your thoughts in terms of this Tennessee State Garner-Webb game?
Man, Tennessee State shocked me. Watched that fourth quarter. They played tough that fourth quarter. Defensively, man, they stopped the run. They stopped Garner-Webb from doing what they wanted to do. I think there was one point in the game that Garner-Webb had, out of the first downs that they had been running it on first down, on every first down outside of like twice in that game. Tennessee State cut all that out, man. And that field goal, we talk about being solid offensively, defensively. Special teams is usually that third part of the game that people forget about, but that's ultimately what won Tennessee State the game.
Good stuff. Stick with you, B.J. Jones. Alabama A&M, Southern Jaguars, 20-10. Another one of those games where you look at it, played ugly. It was a great game to watch in terms of the competition, competitive. And every time you thought Southern was going to push it out, the Bulldogs would fight back or they would make a mistake. The last one was before the half. They get a big play, credit to them, get down there, and they decide to go with it with 7 seconds left to try to stretch out the lead. They were up 10-3. You go for the field goal, 13-10. Your defense is strong. A&M hasn't really showed they could score. So you get a 2-score lead. It sounds like they really wanted to kill the knack with the sledgehammer, as they say. They go for the touchdown, and the running back fumbles right before the goal line. It was a little controversy there. They thought they got in. It was clear on the replay that the referees got it right. Ball fumbles. Turnabout is fair play, though, when it looked like A&M was maybe going to snatch and it was going to really get ugly in Baton Rouge in a lot of ways, because you never know what happens with that type of momentum. It looks like Alabama A&M is going to score to tie the game, if you would, at 10-10 in terms of what was going on there. Their running back fumbles on the goal line, and Southern kicks a field goal, pulls it out, 20-10. Final score there, B.J. Jones. What's your assessment?
Ooh. It was an ugly win, but right now, Baton Rouge, you got to take the wins however they come.
Right.
Southern did everything they did possible to hand Alabama A&M the game. And Alabama A&M did everything possible to hand it right back to Southern.
Oh, my gosh.
It was, let me tell you something. Mike made a statement earlier. Like you said, off the ledge, and Mike said, no, they probably took a step. A lot of people in Baton Rouge were happy because of the win, but just everybody, the consensus was, man, this was terrible football. Like this was bad football. And fortunately, fan base feels like, unfortunately, we just ran into someone who's just worse than we are. So we'll see how this plays out. One thing about it, tell people, relax, we're still in September. But when you look at this ball game and what it means as we're in conference play now, Southern's 1-0 in conference. And if you've looked at the SWAC West, there might be a lot of games like this. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this thing all shakes out when it's all said and done.
I agree. When you look at the West and 2 or 3 teams in the East, even when you have those crossover matchups, I believe you're going to get a lot of games like this. It's going to be some defenses who defensive line going to basically keep them in every game, but then there are going to be some offensive lines in terms of the West that's going to keep them in every game, because that's the difference. What I saw in this game is Alabama A&M could not get anything going because what they were able to do on the defensive front. But then you turn the reverse on the other side. That defensive line controlled it in terms of Alabama A&M. You get big plays here and there, but you can't get consistent movement offensively for either one of these teams. Mike, did you agree with that assessment, or you saw something else?
No, I completely agree. I mean, I can't add anything to that. I mean, I go back to the last play of the first half. Was it Southern on the goal line? It was like 10-3.
Yes.
And that was a golden opportunity. Alabama A&M stops them. They fumble. Alabama A&M, I think, gets the ball in the third quarter and turns it right over. I mean, seriously. Alabama A&M had every opportunity to win this game. They just played a horrible game. Southern played a horrible game. They just played less horrible than Alabama A&M. And Dr. Cavil, I was like, in the third quarter, I was like, enough. Can somebody win this game, please? So and I agree. There are going to be a couple of games in the SWAC West that are this ugly. I hope not this bad, but this ugly. Seriously.
80 Drew, are you in line with your two brothers here, or you going to find a bright spot for them?
Ditto. The game, no one wanted to win. The game, no one acted like they knew how to win. It almost seems like the only reason Southern won this game is because the clock just happened to hit triple digits, and that being 000, and they just happened to have a slight lead at that point in time. Because there would have been more time on the clock, a lot of Southern fans felt they would have found a way to let Alabama State right back into the game and to give that game over to Alabama State. The only thing that victory did for right now is to keep the people in Baton Rouge from placing a call and asking someone to travel 10 hours and 750 miles to come and help out in Baton Rouge. Y'all go to Google Maps and figure out what city I'm talking about.
They not all, like I said, they are not off the ledge. They just took a step back. That's it. They still on the ledge. They just took one step back. That's it.
You know what it is? It's like when you're in the stadium and you try to send a text message or send a picture message, and because there's so many people in the stadium that your picture messages don't go out because
it just keeps spinning.
That's what happened. That's what happened with that win yesterday. It just kept spinning. The message just didn't go out, and you just finally canceled it because you got tired of the ding popping up your phone saying your message had not been sent. That's what the Southern fans were yesterday when they were trying to send that message to somebody.
Well, another ugly game. It was solid for first half. Valley was up on Delta State just to throw in some bonus games. We won't discuss these, but I just want to give a shout out if you would. Valley, Delta State 7-6 in terms of that matchup. Valley leading at the half. It's not often when the FCS program seems to get tired in the second half versus the D2 program, and they pulled away and they make the spread as they win 35-7. Tough losses. They get shut out in the second half, and you're like, all right, Valley making a statement in their first half. I was watching that, not to be. I would be remiss if we don't shout out Florida A&M. A lot of folks were questioning about this matchup. A lot of folks were concerned, if not talking about West Florida coming into Tallahassee and ending that streak. And I'll leave it at that in terms of who they were. But FAMU controlled that game. Now, it was just 3-3 at the half, but even the first half, they played a certain style and ran the ball, focused, very solid. Couldn't get things going, but in the second half, they jumped out and scored 21 in the third quarter and really took control of that game. Both teams scored 7 points in the fourth quarter, but FAMU gets it done 31-10 in terms of showing that they are a really good football team, regardless in terms of the matchup. So shout out to FAMU and those fans out there. The other one I want to shout out goes back to the mid-major level, which is Allen. 80 Drew gave us a shout out last week to keep your eyes on Allen. Could they get to 2-0? Obviously, the 3-0 in terms of the exhibition game. But this one, the Thoroughbreds, one of those teams that allowed a major comeback on the road. Check this out. Allen Yellow Jackets scored 27 unanswered points in the fourth quarter to come back from being down 30-7. It was so tough for me late as I'm watching the game that we open up and talk about Shedeur Sanders. Shout out to Coach Prime, as he does in his post-game presser. He talks about Shedeur does what he does. And he gave another shout out to the SWAC in Jackson. He said, y'all just hadn't watched it. I guess y'all don't send cameras down there, although we were on television everywhere. Y'all didn't watch. He does what he does. I was like, man, he knows how to slide in there and throw a shout out and a cut at the same time in terms of still giving some love to HBCUs and SWAC. Credit to him. I know people feel a certain way, but my point is they came back 27 points in the fourth quarter to get the victory, 34-30, as they go overall 2-0 in terms of games that count, 3-0 overall, and more importantly, 1-0 in the conference play. Keep your eyes on that. Shout out to AD Drew. I know he wanted to make sure we got that out there, and he called it. He has his eyes over there in terms of that matchup. Let me shut down the show, get you all out there. Make sure y'all can get to church, all those that are going to church. I want to shout out to my crew here for making sure we get it done. I appreciate them for all the love in regards to DJ Jones.
Wait a minute. Doc, it's Allen. Let's hold the press. Put your pom-poms away. They beat Erskine and they beat Kentucky. Put your pom-poms down. Let's get to the middle of the season and let's see, okay?
Football heaven is in Columbia, South Carolina right now.
I'm just
Allen
saying,
and Benedict. Just wanted to put that out there for you.
Put your Allen pom-poms down.
You know, Mike Washington has to have his valid moment. And now, I'm just glad that he's not picking on Ballard, since Ballard seems to be truly down. Because we do play Ballard, so be careful. And when I say we, I'm talking Prairie View, because Ballard is the Prairie View killer.
All right, let's just put your pom-poms away for now. It's a Thursday. They beat Erskine. Yes, they beat, was it Kentucky or whatever. Okay, yes, they woke up in the fourth quarter and said, ooh, we should be winning this game. I want
that Delaware State, Mississippi Valley matchup.
Yeah, I'm not giving them puff points. Not giving them puff points for that. Sorry.
The final score will be 3-2.
Thank you for listening to Inside HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Kenyatta, the Dean of HBCU Sports, coming from inside the lab in the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. With the two members of X and O's, two out of the three, I should say. That's BJ Jones, curator of HBCU Weekly. Check him out on Tuesday. Had a little trouble last week as X was doing this thing, it seems. Joshua Sims Sr., as he is on a flight, play for safety in his travel, curator of HBCU Nightly. Obviously, you know the Charles crew with Mike Washington Charles, they get it done in terms of him traveling grace as he heads back after going down to San Marcos. It was a tough road trip for him. Excited about the points that they put up, but I know he's like, ooh, defense could be desired point. We'll see what that looks like. With that being said, check out AD Drew and Brian. I'm sure they'll have a lively show today as they're feeling good about themselves and their chest is all out as they do their thing this Sunday evening to get you ready for the week in multiple ways. But hey, Drew, you don't have to shake head. Be excited about it because these things don't always come. You know that. You had up and down when you're up. You better smile a little bit because before you know it, you're going to be down and folks are going to tell you when you're down. So.
All I'm going to say is there were some people in the press area where I was at during that FAMU game who are happy to see the Junior Baratovic sighting in the fourth quarter of that game.
Still got questions, boy.
I'm just gonna leave it right there. We'll talk about it tonight on the Sports Wrap. How about that?
Good lead-in. I like it. Make sure you continue to check out on Saturdays as you get ready for things to kick off in the morning with Carlos Brown. And then obviously midweek breakup to let you know it's getting closer as you have the O&G Strike Zone as well. And then on Saturdays, check us out at times. We're going to give you some BCSN matchups, games of the weeks as we might do some of our watch parties, various different things with game times and things of that nature. With that being said, again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Bill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Watson, Charles Bishop every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 o'clock. We'll let you know what's going on this week. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. That's DrKenyattaCavil. As we get into it, we'll discuss the latest news in the lab. Shout out to the lab listeners out there. Appreciate you supporting, following us. Great comments. I see that. I see Brandon excited with Tennessee State getting a win. Lonnie Shaw says, yeah, his Aggies are having some problems. I asked the question on last Wednesday. As some friends out there said, we're going to be all right. I say, what is all right? Because A&T, I didn't think they saw what was coming. But that's the life you have at times. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab 1, we have that on Twitter, formerly now called X, formerly known as Twitter, I should say. And then you have Inside the HBCU Lab on YouTube and Facebook. Dream big, continue to move forward. We will talk with you soon. Mike?
Sports.
AD?
Lecture.
DJ?
Dismiss.